Hey guys, this is Amal from Leathercraft 209. I wanted to do a quick follow-up video kind of reviewing the three cases that I've already talked about on my channel, but I haven't actually put them kind of next to each other and talked about some of the features, some of the pros and cons, and some things to consider, I guess. So really quick, just to review, this is the Ringke Fusion Flex. This is the DIY case. And basically it's their slimline case, and it has this kind of clear backing where you can kind of put whatever you want, a photo. In my case, I just put a little leather cutout thing I did. So in order, this is probably the slimmest, thin line. In some way, probably maybe the least protective, but it's still a case that has a rubber TPU bumper. It's just the slimmest and probably the least protective. Next in line, this was kind of a hard choice because they're both pretty. To me, they're both pretty rugged. They're both pretty thick. So, well, actually, this is probably more slimline. So anyway, in the middle is what I consider to be the middle of the road, I guess, is the Verus Iron Shield case. So the Verus case has this kind of textured back. It's kind of this matte rubber TPU. It has a really nice feel to it, and then it has this aluminum frame, which I reviewed in the unboxing. So it has a really nice premium feel, kind of premium look to it. And so to me, this is kind of middle of the road. It is slim and slightly slimmer than this. And then it's still, pretty protective. So it's probably the middle of the road as far as protection goes. But there are a couple points where each of these cases, of course, stand out. The last one I want to review is the Spigen Tough Armor. This is the gunmetal color. Just to clarify, this is the Monaco blue. I do have one ordered. I think they call it the titanium silver, so that should be on its way too. But for the meantime, just to do the review, I had ordered this. Anyway, this is the gunmetal, I believe. Anyway, it has that kind of titanium look also. But this is the Spigen Tough Armor with a kickstand, and this is probably out of all three, this is probably the most, I guess, rugged or more durable, but it also adds a little bit more thickness to the phone. And so anyway, the other case options, I guess, are like the OtterBox, which I'm thinking is probably a little bit thicker, maybe a little bit more rugged, but I have already used OtterBox a couple times and I just want to try something different. Alright, so let me go over really quick the design. The TPU on the Ringke Fusion is a lot thinner, and it's nice because it's very low profile. So this is kind of the phone, the case I would recommend if you want to keep, your back from getting scratched up, but you still want to have kind of the slimmest, phone case. Two features, well, one feature of this is it has this clear backing. Now, you can DIY, kind of customize it to your own deal, like I did. Alright, with this piece of leather or whatever, and this could be a photo or a texture even. But if you also want to kind of show, the phone and the kind of the natural leatherette backing, or if you have a white case, the white phone, the Note 4, and you really want to, kind of show that, it does a really good job at that too, as you can see. Now I have like leather dust in there, but the back is pretty clear. And one of the design things about this case that I really like that chose it over some of the other clear back cases is it has this dust port coverage. So you can see there's a micro USB one here and a headphone jack. Now on Amazon, I did read some reviews about people complaining about them not staying put. I personally have not had an issue. You can see that that's pretty flush in there. I don't, you stick it out and you push it back in. So I haven't had any kind of weird thing like that people report on Amazon happen. The port covers basically stay in place really well. Obviously, if you're someone who uses the headphones a lot or likes to plug in your phone a lot, those could get annoying. But for me, especially with the Note 4 and the battery life, it's not a huge deal. I only end up unplugging this maybe at the end of the day. And the headphone port is, it can be a little bit annoying if you're, especially since I hook mine up to an auxiliary in my car. So that just takes some doing, but if you are aware of what case you have on, you can kind of prep ahead of time and just pull it back it's not a one-handed deal necessarily. I'm sure you could figure that out after time. But anyway, I really like the clear backing and the ability to kind of personalize it. One of the things that I did tweak, so I'll just talk about modifications really quick. First of all, the Verizon Note 4. You guys know that the microphone is now placed in the same position that basically all the other carriers' phones are, right? AT&T, T-Mobile, Sprint. Verizon decided to do something different. So one of the modifications I did was since it is a soft TPU, it's not a big deal. I used a little Dremel type tool and basically enlarged the hole. I have a video on that if you're interested. You can kind of go back in my channel and I talk about the Verizon microphone fix. So that was one modification I did. The other thing that came up, if you look at my original unboxing of this, because you can't tell now, is but the buttons here, so these were covered initially, okay, like with that TPU. But when it was covered, the button really had this huge kind of bump out, and same thing with the volume rocker. And the first couple days when I was testing this case out, one of the things that really bothered me is I would turn the phone on constantly, and you know, for someone you know, maybe who has hand issues, maybe arthritis or, you know, joint pain, that is a nice feature. You know, it doesn't require a whole lot of effort. You don't have to kind of press it like the these other two, which I'll talk about in a second. So I mean, it's really easy to activate. So for some people, I could see that being a really, you know, handy feature. For me personally, you know, I activate it a little too often. Sometimes I would shove the phone in my pocket or in my case, my holster that I have, and that you know, the holster kind of eliminated that problem. But way too often I would grab it, and even the slightest motion would turn it on. So that was probably my only critique of the case. Really, is the buttons were just, there was a lot of, you know, TPU on it, and so it had a very excessive bump out. But anyway, other than that, I really like the port covers. They don't bother me. And one thing I do appreciate for the slimline design anyway is this S Pen is really easy to access. I don't know if you can see that or not, but you know, because it is slimline, there's not a whole lot of kind of digging in where you would have to do with something like the Spigen, which I'll talk about in just a second. Alright, so that is the Ringke Fusion. Once again, I really like the personalization options and just a slimline design. So if you're going for something like that, I would recommend this. Kind of the middle of the road is the Iron Shield from Verus. Hopefully I'm saying that right. So just to review, this is a two-part case. So is this, but the deal with the Verus case is it has to be installed actually in two parts. The directions are very clear. So you have to put the TPU part on first, and then starting from the bottom, you line the bottom up first, and then you kind of, you know, get that flush, and then you slowly slide up and work the top of the frame up. There you go. So real quick, let's talk about design. This backing is awesome. It has an awesome feel to it. Really, you know, if you're someone who is kind of clumsy, I'm not, but if you're someone who's kind of clumsy, who is dropping their phone a lot or is afraid of dropping their phone, especially with the Note 4's, you know, large size, and you know, if you have trouble with, you know, getting your fingers across and swiping the screen or whatever, and some of the other cases you've tried are slippery, like this one does have some slip to it, and this one too. The Verus case is just awesome on grip. Like you can hold it without it sliding around, and that's because of this kind of rubber TPU texture. And the nice thing about it is that it doesn't stick to your pocket. You know, it's not the kind of rubber that like the OtterBox used to be made of. I don't know if OtterBox still makes it out of that rubber, but it's that soft silicone kind of jelly rubber, which, you know, would catch you know, lint and catch your pocket as you're pulling it out. It is not that. It is nice and smooth. It's like a hard TPU, but a really nice matte finish, and it really has a nice grip. So that's one piece about the design. The other thing is this metal aluminum frame. There's a couple cases out there that do this kind of frame deal. To me, the Verus case and the color options were probably the nicest. They had the one I've ordered from Amazon is that titanium silver, they call it. It has a black and then like kind of a silver finish, aluminum, frame, and it kind of looks a lot like the Note 4, not in the case, basically. That little metal chamfering thing they talk about, yeah, that kind of stuff. So one of the things I will talk about, really quick, the port cutouts for this, I had no issues with any of the headphones that I normally have. Now I do have this splitter, right, and it's like I think this is by Belkin. But anyway, it's a splitter, and you can see that compared to so here's my regular headphones that I use. You can see compared to my regular headphones versus the Belkin splitter, this has a huge diameter. So this had issues with, I think, almost every case because it was just so large. The other cases were not an issue. With a couple of the headphone jacks I've tried out, the auxiliary in my car was not an issue with any of them. The only time that I came up with an issue is I use Square and PayPal because I do leather work and I sell at markets. And on the Ringke Fusion, the dust port cover did kind of get in the way. Now you can still finagle it, still work it around. One thing I will note for anyone who uses PayPal here is I could not get, and it may be my card reader, it could be my app, it could be the phone, I don't know, but I could not get the PayPal app to read a credit card. So it recognized that the reader was plugged in. When I swiped it, nothing happened. I tried it a couple times. That was not the case with the Square. The Square actually worked flawlessly, almost on first swipe, which is really nice because if you guys have used these, they can both be kind of finicky. So the Square one worked flawlessly on all the cases without issue. So the port, that's not an issue. Once again, since this is the Verizon Note 4, the headphone is not aligned on one of them. One of the headphones doesn't line up. This is not an issue for AT&T, T-Mobile, and Sprint. This is only a Verizon Note 4 issue. So anyway, I'm not on all of these. I'm not faulting the case manufacturers really for that. It's I think more of a Samsung and a Verizon deal. And so, but I have not modified this one mostly because I'm going to be selling it because I have the other one coming, which is the one I really wanted, the color I wanted. So anyway, it's not modified, but I haven't had it. I used it throughout the day. I actually didn't have any issues, even though the microphone port is not lined up. No one complained about not being able to hear me. So, just take that for whatever it's worth. One thing I will point out is the standard. This is the standard Samsung charger that comes with the Note 4. You can see that. And I have a couple other kind of aftermarket ones, a couple from old phones. This charger had no issue with any of the cases. They plugged in into the USB charging port without issue. So the original Samsung one. But I do have this kind of old one. It's from like a LG Envy or something. It's a micro USB port, and you can kind of see it's an old micro USB charging cable. But you can see that this has this kind of thickness to it, where this one does not. For the Ringke Fusion and for the Spigen, that was not an issue. This was not an issue, but when I tested it out with the Verus case, even though this opening is really large, just because of how thick this one was, it did not seat all the way in, and so I wasn't able to charge using this cable. Now once again, guys, if you guys have some new cables, I'm guessing they're all pretty slimline. This cable is like 10 years old from a really old dumb phone, so I kind of didn't expect that to work with everything, and it is on the chunky side, but it did not work with the Verus case. all the other ones I tested out, just for the record, the other 3 or 4 I have laying around the house, they worked fine without issue. So one thing I want to point out, the S Pen cutout on the Verus case, it's kind of in the middle, right? It's in the middle. Since it is a slimline case, it is easy to reach, but they also kind of enlarge the hole a little bit, so it's easy to get you, like if you have, you know, big fingers for some reason, whatever, like this is my thumb, right, you can still get to it. So I really like that feature. One of the reviews I read on Amazon, actually a couple reviews I read on Amazon, kind of complained about rough edges or something along, you know, this part, and I can kind of feel maybe a little bit, but honestly I did not notice it, and I probably would not have unless I had read that review, the reviews. So to me, and it might just because I do leather work, so my fingers are a little calloused already, but to me that is not an issue. So in case anyone was wondering or had seen those reviews, to me I would rather have the larger cutout and get your fingers in there. To me that feels way nicer. My only complaint, I guess, is the buttons here. They're metal, which is nice, but they don't have any tactile feel to them. So I'm not sure if I can describe that, but basically, all right then. Basically, you know, when you're pushing this down, you're kind of, there's a little bit of uncertainty. There's no like definitive click, and the buttons kind of have the, I guess, a mushy feeling to them, I guess, you know. So it's just something to keep in mind. You know, if you like your buttons to have a very tactile feel, you know, like kind of like the Ringke, you know, the nice thing about it is you're not accidentally going to turn this on or off. It is low profile, and so, you know, there's obviously pros and cons to having that button style. So to me, I haven't had an issue, but it is something to be aware of coming from, especially the Ringke case, and even technically the Spigen. It has a little bit more give to it. This one, you know, it has a little give, but it's very light. So, you know, that's just, you know, one thing to keep in mind. Overall, this is probably I really like this case. I'll talk about my top 2 cases once I get to the end. But yeah, so let me move on to the Spigen really quick. So the Spigen case, top armor case. This is a 2-part design also. It's a plastic right here and this TPU. With Spigen's case though, you don't need to kind of do this disassembly deal. It just kind of slips on. And, you know, granted, it is plastic versus aluminum. And I'm guessing the aluminum frame is the reason you have to kind of put one on at a time, because they don't want you bending this out of shape or whatever. So once again, the Spigen button is really nice. It's flush, so it's not gonna get accidentally pressed, but there's this kind of nice depression when you click on it. You can kind of feel it go down compared to this. The bumpers on these two, so the bumper on this, and it might have to do with my my backing, but the bumper on this was very small. So when you're putting the phone down, you know, onto a table with the screen on, you know, this I would not necessarily trust with that. Same thing with the camera cutout, because this is a slimline case. The camera was very close to the, you know, this part right here. Once again, it was still fine. It didn't mess anything up, but just something to be aware of, where compared to the Spigen, for example, the camera is very much recessed in, and this was kind of in the middle, so between the two. So this was right up to the case. The camera was. This was kind of in the middle. It was still recessed down, but a little bit more so. And then this is probably the most recessed. So if you're concerned about your camera, you know, that is one thing to consider for the Spigen Tough Armor. Now, the downside, of course, is that it does add thickness, and you know, it has a little bit more bulk. If you look at the design, for example, compared to this, you can see how the Spigen does is kind of like it's flat, and then it kind of bumps up and out, kind of like a, you know, like a bone shape, I guess. You know, it has these bumps here, and then it kind of goes down flat. whereas these cases are more just kind of straight flat and keep a really slim profile. So the port cutouts for the Spigen, I had no issues with the PayPal or the headphone jack. And let me just double check this. Yeah, so this will seat my Belkin, but it is a little bit, it stretches it out, the hole, just a little bit when you stick the Belkin adapter in there. So you can see it says earphone connected. So once again, for port access, the Spigen probably allows, it has the kind of the largest hole for the headphone jack. So it does allow for some of the larger adapters or whatever to fit. But like I said, with the other cases, the other several headphones I have, none of them really had issues going into the headphone jack. No issue with the PayPal reader or the Square reader going in here either, in case you guys are wondering. I mean, other than the fact the PayPal app didn't work on my Note 4, I really like the feel of the buttons. They're very distinct. You can hear them. That is not the case with this, and that was the case with this. But since I've modified, I cut those pieces out. I'm actually now just hitting the actual button, so there is a feel, but I'm pushing it through the TPU, kind of, if that makes sense. Anyway, I really like the kickstand. I have a 4-year-old, and so two things. I have a 4-year-old who, first of all, loves to play on my phone. So even though this is bigger, it does add a lot of bulk. I really like kind of the additional protection it offers in case she drops it. The other piece is that sometimes we'll be at a restaurant or something, and she'll get bored. The kickstand allows you to kind of prop it up on the table, and she can watch Netflix or whatever, and that I really like. I understand it's a cheap piece of plastic. I don't know, a lot of people have complained about it, but honestly, it is a feature that I use, and I haven't had any issues with it. I think the first day I was playing with this without the Note 4 in the case. So just be aware, if you're playing with this when the phone is not in there, yes, the kickstand will fall out, because basically the only backing on the kickstand is the TPU, right? So that is a TPU that's getting pushed out by the phone. So that will be an issue. But if you have your phone in, I have not had any issue with it since I've had this case and the Note 4 specifically together. Once again, modifications I've made. In fact, only just one. I did drill the hole for the speaker. So you can see that's the original, that small hole right there is the original Spigen hole, but and I cannot get the light angled correctly, but basically the Verizon Note 4's microphone is actually in that large hole that I drilled out. Okay. Once again, no issues with the charging port, and even my bulky old school micro USB cable will fit on that. So that's the only modification I made to that case. I have not modified this case, and there's really not much that needs to be modified in my opinion. So really quick, just to talk about, I did the comparison I'm doing between the phones. Just to be clear, these phones are not really, in my opinion, the same style. They're very distinct, and in fact, depending on how you are with your phones, I could see a case, each case being relevant depending on the situation. Between the three cases, they're all obviously different. They all have different uses, but the slimline case for me is really nice for just hanging out, kind of, or if I'm wearing shorts and I want really a slimline design, or if I'm going to the beach or I'm going to be around water, the dust port covers will come in handy for something like that. So this definitely has its place in a slim, kind of functionality. For everyday use, though, I'm probably going to be alternating between these two. This once again has a professional look, and I love this grip texture. That alone, if it didn't have the metal edging and the kind of finished look, this back alone is something that I really appreciate compared to this. I have put my phone down let's say on a laptop or even on my lap, and this will slide. Like, so if I stick it on, let me grab something. So here's a, if you stick it on the Spigen will slide off. So this is at a slight angle, and this will probably slide too, but you can see it just has a little bit more grip to it. It's kind of hard to do with a floppy board, but I stuck this on my laptop, and it slid down, right, and not off, because I knew it was going to do that. But when I was testing this case, I did the same thing. I have my laptop kind of sitting on my backpack, so it sits at an angle, and I stuck this on my laptop, and yeah, it didn't move. Like, the texturing just really helps. Same thing with if you have it on your lap, and like if you're driving or if you're sitting on the patio or whatever, sitting on the couch, and you have this resting on your knee. This can slide depending on what, like even with jeans on. This is slippery, so your phone could slip off your knee. With this, it felt way more secure. So that texture really, to me, is a definite plus. That really is one of the major points of the case, other than the aluminum look. And to me, they're pretty close to protection, with obviously the Tough Armor being a little bit more protective because it has these kind of chunkier rubber bumpers, and you can see it has, the camera sits inset further, but it has these little rubber feet right here on all the edges. A little tab right there. That basically, if you put this down flat, there's very little chance of your camera getting scratched. So definitely, the most biggest case, but at the same time the most durable kind of protective case. So anyway, guys, hopefully that kind of gives you an idea of comparison between them. And that's a lot of stuff I covered. But like I said, they all have their place to me, and it really, part of it is personal style. If you like the slimline, if you want something a little more professional looking, a little bit more, finished, not finished, but a little bit more professional and elegant, I guess, And the Tough Armor definitely has this place as far as being the most protective, and if you are dropping your phone or you're concerned about, damaging your phone, the Tough Armor really does an awesome job with that, and the kickstand comes in handy if you have kids. So yeah, all right, and for yourself, of course. All right, guys, if you have any questions or comments, let me know. The Verus case, if you look on my other videos on the Spigen Ringke Fusion, there's a link to Amazon. I'll post it in the description too. The Verus case is currently, I think, out of stock at Amazon, but once it becomes available, I will post a link in this video and also the unboxing video that I did of this case. For anyone who's interested, go check out their listing. They have a couple different colors. This is that blue. I believe they have that silver. I think they have like a gold one, and I think maybe even a red one. Really, really premium looking phone case. Really like this. I really like this. As far as everyday use, I'll probably stick with using the Spigen for the moment. And I think when I'm going to be running errands and kind of out and about, where I'm going to be handling my phone more, like at work or something, I definitely think I'll be using the Spigen more, because just the grabbing the phone off my desk or off a table or out of your pocket, whatever. I think this will provide a really good grip, since you're gonna kind of be doing stuff. With something like this, you can kind of have it sitting at home, like on your coffee table or whatever, or in your pocket, and you don't really have to worry about a whole lot, like pulling it out in and out. But either one. I don't think you can go wrong with either one, guys. It just depends on kind of the style you have. All right, take care.